just a few short months, our world has completely changed. And with familiar ways of promoting and selling art no longer that effective, artists have had to dig extra deep to get their art seen and heard. Thousands are turning to internet for support and inspiration, and as an artist you can no longer afford to ignore the exciting opportunities the internet has to offer. But just posting an image of your latest art piece is not going to work. Building an online presence starts with a plan and takes intentional steps. Are you wondering what the best way is to share your art online? Or how you can photograph your art? Or what steps you need to take to connect with potential collectors? Then I have some good news. Because developing a strong online presence has never been more important, I've prepared a new artist training, the Online Artist Bootcamp. Yes, it's time for bootcamp. On Thursday, September 17th, I'm running this new training live, where I'll teach you practical steps to create, record, and share your work online. And no, you don't need to be a whiz kid or a rock star to claim your online space. It's more about discovering what works for you and finding the right tools and strategies to connect your art with potential art collectors. So head over to www.soniasmallhere.com/online artist. This training comes with introduction videos, worksheets, a PDF workbook, artist website reviews, and a live Q&A at the end of the bootcamp. There has never been a better time to discover all the internet has to offer and start to take those bold, big steps to unlock more of your online superpowers. I hope to see you at bootcamp.
Think internationally. We are in this space, and I think it's highly important that as an artist you think internationally, because what I'm finding now, there's market for art everywhere, anywhere. The last painting that we sold was in Switzerland, in a little town in Switzerland, that from a guy that really enjoyed Latin American art. And we didn't even do any campaigns to this part of the world, but we found that collector there.
My name is Sonia Small here. I'm an artist, an art coach, and a course creator. When I graduated from the Art Academy, I had learned how to paint and how to draw, but I had no idea how to earn a living with my creativity. I was not prepared for the life as a working artist. This often left me quite frustrated, sometimes on the verge of calling it quits, throwing away my brushes and giving it all up. But I'm so glad I didn't. After many failed attempts and valuable lessons learned, I've discovered ways to turn my creative dream of being a working artist into a reality, now giving me the freedom to live the life I love. I created the Help I'm Artist podcast because no matter where you are in your journey, whether you're just starting out or maybe you've been a working artist for a while, you too can take steps to turn your creative passions into a meaningful, sustainable profession. The Help I'm Artist podcast is filled with fresh inspiration, step-by-step practical insights, and interviews with artists who are experts in their field. If you're a smart artist or one in the making who is looking for new and exciting ways to get your art out of your studio and into the hands and hearts of an audience that's appreciative and willing to pay its worth, then you're in the right place. Happy listening. For many years, this amazing woman helped international brands make the transition onto the online space. When the pandemic hit, Stefanie decided to help her artist friends and use all her marketing insights and online expertise to get their art seen and heard. She has created a platform to not only showcase inspiring emerging artists, but informs collectors how they best can invest in art. Stefanie joined me from a beautiful location in Quito, Ecuador, where she shares valuable tips and strategies artists can use to make their mark online. To enjoy a video version of our conversation and see the beautiful location, check out IGTV at Sonja Small here on Instagram. Here is our conversation. Hi, Stefanie. It's so nice that you could join me for the Help I'm Artist podcast. Welcome to this episode.
Thank you for your invitation. I'm really happy to be part of this episode.
Pleasure. Can you just tell us briefly where you are? You're in a beautiful environment. Just share briefly your location and a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I was born Ecuadorian. I grew up in Spain and then living between Mexico and New York. But right now I'm in Ecuador. I came because of the pandemic and to discover some artists here. I'm a marketer. I studied marketing. I was working on the digital marketing for almost 8 years. And I discovered my passion for art 2 years ago that I started hanging out a little bit more with artists in Mexico. And that's where I found my real passion, that is to mix marketing and digital marketing with art. And here I am in this beautiful place in Ecuador, like looking for new artists.
But after 2 years ago, you started hanging out with artists and then you discovered this exciting world. And so you're now combining your marketing with your love of art.
Yes, it was really fun because I started my collection with the small pieces of emerging artists, but not really knowing much, about the projection and about all of that. And in 2 months, I had an intensive course with my friends in Mexico, and I started hanging out with them and learning more about the process of building a piece and knowing more about, like exploring, going back to my time at school, about the history of art and, how all these pieces are built. And at that time, I started bringing my other friends and clients to visit the studios of my friends. And then I discovered that they also enjoy that the same as me, being surrounded by art. And that's where I found this new path of life that I'm doing, that is promoting art.
Before we get into that, can you just briefly tell us about your life as marketeer? What were you doing as marketeer and what was your focus?
I grew up in the digital environment, and I remember my first email was when I was 5 years old. And I was always really passionate about, discovering new ways of learning, of knowing new people, meeting new people, and knowing how to manage and how to move around that environment. And I decided to study marketing, and then I moved to London. I was there for a year. And I started working on a company with my boss. We decided to start up building a website so we can start selling online. I'm talking it was about 7 years ago. That was my first e-commerce. And after that, I started learning more about it and doing more courses. That took me to Mexico 4 years ago already. I was working with big brands as Yamaha Motors, Tane, that is a big jewelry company. And I was focusing on strategies that can help them promote their brands, finding new markets, and also promoting their sales online. And the good thing is also these brands that they're super big and super old, they're finding new ways to reach to new customers and to adapt themselves to the digital environment. So basically that was part of my duty, to make them look more friendly for the users, for the online users, and also to discover new ways to sell online through valuable content and through good campaigns that they were also good for the customers.
So really building the bridge between the old way of communication, because they're established brands, and then bring them into the new time, and a relevant way of storytelling, of marketing, of sharing content, so that it's not only one way, but a conversation with clients.
Yes, that's the main thing about the digital, and this is what we're doing right now. It's to show the people that is going to see this, or that they're going to see the brand, and to let them know more about what is the thing behind it. It's not only product, buy the product. It's feel what we're trying to say understand what's the vision of the company, these are the values, and all the thing that took to have this product at the end was a big process that involves people, that involves process and things like that. And now we are able to show that to the world, I'm going to say. And you have a powerful tool that is internet, that is digital, that can be seen from any part of the world. And we need to take advantage of that.
And then you come into the space of the artist in Mexico. You discovered the art world a few years ago. And I know many artists have a sort of allergy towards marketing and of sort of promoting their work. They just want to be making their art. What did you find when you first started communicating with artists, getting to know them, about their attitude towards marketing?
Yeah, it was funny because at first as I told you, I came into the space, and I was impressed by, the visuals and the feeling that I had being surrounded with creative people. And my mind started thinking and planning how this can be promoted in many ways. And that's the funny thing. They didn't want to do that. They're like, I just want to create. I just want to do my thing. I just want to, have people supporting my art so I can keep creating. And that's when I found my niche, I'm gonna say, or the way that I can tell them, being a little bit sensitive, being this bridge again between the digital environment and the creative space of them. Always trying to tell them that they don't have to put all their mind on being an influencer, but also thinking a little bit on how they can take advantage of this tool to promote their art.
Yeah, it's something that we can't ignore anymore. It's so much part of our world and our language. And what would you tell an artist maybe now that they're just thinking about going onto the online space as something that they want to venture into? What would you tell them?
I think the first thing to think is that this is not a way of hard selling. You're not going to post your artwork and put a price and people is going to run and buy. You need to open a little bit more about yourself. What I always say is think about Instagram, for example, as a party, because you are in a party and there's full of people. No one knows you. No one knows what you're doing. Take advantage of that and start talking to people. Start thinking on how other artists can collaborate with you, and always think as a party. So you need to interact, you need to tell your story, you need to collaborate with other people so they can introduce you to other people. So I have like three things, like main things for them, that is to collaborate, to think about other artists and support other artists, and they're going to do the same back to you. On the digital environment, it's really important that you take care of who you follow, what you like, because that is what the algorithm is going to use to put you in a box of the things that you're doing. So supporting artists, you're going to have a better feed where you're going to see better things that they're more related to you. And also at the same time, they're going to promote you back and you're going to open to other markets. Also think internationally. That's it. The second thing, we are in this space, and I think it's highly important that as an artist you think internationally, because what I'm finding now, there's markets for art everywhere, anywhere. The last painting that we sold on this platform that I'm going to tell you a little bit about was in Switzerland, in a little town in Switzerland, that from a guy that really enjoyed Latin American art. And we didn't even do any campaigns to this part of the world, but we found that collector there. So think internationally, collaborate, and open yourself. Think about this as your exhibition every day. You need to be true to yourself, to your creativity, and tell the world what you're doing and how.
Can you make that just really very practical? So the first thing was collaboration. So how would you practically do that when you say you're using Instagram or using Facebook or LinkedIn? How does that practically look?
As practice, what I always suggest to my friends and my artists is share stories about other artists. If you like an artwork and you think that is valuable and you like something about it, it's really easy to just share it on your stories, mention the artist there, and when they repost it and they're going to feel supported, you can feel, and you're going to see that they start following and you follow back, and your community is going to start growing.
So you actually are posting of other artists?
Yes, looking for art that you like online, taking those posts related and sharing on your stories.
And sharing on stories. Okay. So that means the algorithm will see that you are an art lover and will connect you with other people that are art lovers who eventually could be potential buyers of your art. So that you're growing your following in a very specific artists, not only friends and family, but you have artists on your feed and people that love art.
Yes, and that's, that's a second tip that is really specific on thinking internationally. It's the use of hashtags, for example. There's a big myth that if you put hashtag cat, a lot of people is going to see it because it's a huge hashtag, but you don't want to have people that like cats if you're not doing anything related with that. So using hashtags, but specific ones, they're going to help you also reach new people and communities that they're interested in your artwork. And when I'm saying internationally, is thinking about that. Do your research, look for specific hashtags, look always as a brand, as a person, always think about, the people, the online person, the online persona that you want to build. Think about someone that is bigger than you and look what they are doing. Look what hashtags they're using. Try to mix between smaller hashtags and bigger ones, because hashtag artsy or hashtag art is really big, but you're going to be running in a competition with bigger artists and bigger accounts. So you need to be in those just in case, but you also need to be in more specific hashtags that can be, as an example, Ecuadorian art. Yeah, more local, more smaller, where specific, where you can be found easier, and you are going to be competing with similar accounts than you. So it's easier for you to get found. And as a third tip is to think, as you said, storytelling. You need to tell your story. You need to show more about who you are, what your artwork is about, your inspiration. So feel free to create content related, to post a little bit more about your inspiration. If you have a big painter or artist that you really feel connected with, don't feel afraid to show that you're inspired by them, because you're doing a different thing and you're creating something new. And there's nothing that feels better in the art space than in the digital and art space than being open with your inspiration, where your creativity came from, and start telling a little bit more about yourself, about your work, and about your career, as much as you can make your followers or the digital community feel related to you.
I know many artists are struggling because they just want to make their art. They're in the studio. They want to keep things private. They find it very difficult to find content or to find a story. Like, who wants to know what I have for breakfast? Do you have some tips of what they can use as far as images or words that could just help them, just very practically?
You always have to think as that what's the specific persona that you want to have following you. As an example, just think about this person that, what they like. They would like to know about your breakfast? Not really. They would like to know about your palette or the colors you're using, for sure. They want to know more about specific aspects, the materials you're using, or these close-ups, for example, of little things that you're building, and the process on how you're doing that. It's funny because artists, the old school, because I'm meeting artists here that they think super close, they're like, no, I'm not going to open my process because, I don't feel comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Don't do things that don't feel good for you. But I'm always saying that even if you're showing the thing that you're doing, no one else is going to do it the same way as you.
Mm-hmm.
So being open, for example, doing live painting, time lapse of your artwork from starting from scratch will also help feel the collector as if it's visiting your studio. Mm-hmm. So what I would like to say, and for sure, that you need discipline for creating, and to be a successful artist, you need to be disciplined. Think about social media the same way. Think, I'm going to put 20 minutes a day. I'm going to put 3 hours a week in building this, and try to create a system of creation, to be constant, to be posting constantly, to have like a schedule of your digital activities. Use stories daily. Try to always use the new features of every social network, because of course, as a company, they always promote you more the more you're using the tools they're giving to you. Mm-hmm. So try to be innovative and do things that they look different and that they look more related to who you are. I think 3 types of contents that they're very good for you as an artist are stories about your process, where your inspiration comes from, the big artists that inspire you to start to this or to start a specific series. And as a third one, I would say that support other artists. These are the 3 types of content that will help you.
So make it intentional, have a schedule, make it part of your art routine so that you can do it regularly and consistently, because that also just keeps everything fresh and relevant.
Yes, that's true.
The new features. Have you, because I see that Instagram has Reels now, it's like the TikTok of Instagram. That's a new feature. So that's something that artists could look into, to make really short 15-second videos that are shared, and will get a lot of traction because it's new, and they're promoting that big time now. As far as the right platforms for artists, I get those questions a lot. What platforms should I be using? What's the right platform, and what features within those platforms?
Well, I will say that for sure, the 2 biggest networks right now are Facebook and Instagram. Facebook is really good for selling, I can tell you. But also it's true that Instagram is really visual. Pinterest is really visual. So if you really want to focus in just one social network, I will recommend Instagram as for artists. If you want to grow a little bit more, also using Facebook, because Facebook is a network where you can talk more and share more things about it. You can share blog posts, you can share interviews, links, things that Instagram doesn't allow you to do. Mm-hmm. If you want to get discovered and you want to have more time putting into social, I would recommend also using Pinterest. Mm-hmm. And that is a network that is not that popular as it used to be a few years ago. It's still really good for discovering, because we all go there to see specific things, and using your artwork with the specific descriptions, being very descriptive about your posts and your photos, it's going to help you discovering more. I think that's the main things. And I saw few artists going into TikTok. I'm not a big fan, but I think I'm just not part of that generation. Mm-hmm. But I think now, as you said, Reels, it's going to help a little bit more to bring this new generation into Instagram. So I think that's the bigger one.
How's the process of selling? So you want to sell on Instagram. What's a process that you could recommend?
The first thing is to show your artwork, for sure. But as I tell you, is because it's really funny. In the last meetings that I had these 2 days with artists, they tell me Instagram is my main channel of a sales channel. It became just like that. Because, of course, you can post about your artwork, as I said before, because that's your product. And you can put, description, more like the title, the year, the technique. Size. It's going to... the size, for example, it's going to show you. Don't put the prices. I highly recommend artists don't put prices on it because it will look like a catalog and you don't want that.
Yeah. So just a description about the piece and some inspiration, and then what's the connection? How do people actually go about selling?
And then people will go into, DM. I always promote, somewhere, even in the description of the photos or in your bio, that everything is available. Or you can contact me here. If you don't want to do it, it all depends on how you interact with the community. But if you spend more time on Instagram, I would recommend to put DM me, because the people is going to feel more connected. But if you don't put that much time on it, you can always put your email or the contact number of the people that is selling your art. Or as an example, I have this artist that what he does is he posts about the piece and he receives a lot of DMs. He starts talking with the person. Then what he does is to have a call with the possible collector, because when you put a second step for it, you're gonna see who is really interested in buying your art. And because sometimes on Instagram it's really easy to send a free message and that's it. But always do a follow-up and think about how your process is going to look and what is useful for you. If you have a more complex way of creating and you really want to have these specific collectors, try to build this connection with your possible client. And following that other example, after he has a call with the possible collector, they set a date to show a live video of the piece, so people can, the collector can get closer to know more and feel that if he's actually looking at the painting, and after that they do the transaction. But always set a process for what you are expecting and who you are expecting to buy from you.
Yeah, so have it really clear so that the client also knows what to expect. And also have an opportunity, of course, because we are looking at it in a flat, cold screen, how to get that structure, maybe the texture, the colors, so that the client has a good representation. So that live moment is also important, that you book a call and then you can go live and then really see it in a context or on a wall, or have some kind of idea of it in a space, so that you really are making it attractive for the client and so that they can see it in context.
Yes, that's really, really good. And also I would like to recommend for artists that works on bigger formats to always show their piece in a space. Try to take their pictures to make them look how they look in a real space, because I always find in these artists that I really like, but when I see on Instagram, I feel like they're small pieces. And when I come to the studio and I see that they're bigger formats and they look huge and impressive, and always think how the people that is going to scroll on your bio is going to know that you're working on bigger formats. Use the space and use your pictures. Take your pictures of the artworks on spaces where we as users can really understand in how your work is.
And the payment, so then that's really a personal thing, how people, either PayPal or credit cards, that you make sure that it's a reliable transaction. And then shipping, of course, if you're shipping to Switzerland, that is a whole logistic thing of getting your art internationally. Do you have any tips there?
Yes, I will really like to recommend that you have connection with person in the company that you're working shipping for, because they have a lot of tips for you. They have specific boxes where you can put your artwork, and also they can, if they're very supportive with art. I'm gonna talk especially about DHL or UPS. They're really concerned about the pieces, and what they do is they put you with an agent and they suggest you how to pack your things, how to use the boxes, and how to reduce a little bit the rates. Always negotiate, always do that, because they are always open to negotiate with you. And And as for transactions, I will highly recommend PayPal because that's international. Even that the commissions are a little bit high, it's worth it because it's going to secure your transaction. I had a trouble with Facebook, and the only institution that was really concerned about what happened and about all this money was PayPal, not American Express, not Facebook. The only ones that respond on this thing was PayPal.
Yeah, that's good to know, because that's always the end of the whole finished painting. You finally sold it, and make sure that the transaction is just as happy as the whole process before, and that the client is happy, receives it well, not damaged, and that they can enjoy their art piece. And especially in this international, the galleries, the world. So we need to have processes ready so that's as easy as possible for clients. So there's so much possible as far as the internet's concerned. How does the website come into the whole equation?
Well, I think a website is relevant as much as you want to have that one, because now you can have your main way of presenting yourself is to have your social network. If you want to invest a little more on it, you need to be sure that you're going to put time on your website. So it's good that you can have your description and who you are somewhere. So you can have your website, or either you can look for, there are many services that offers free websites for you, as just landing pages where you can put your bio and who you are and a little bit more about yourself. Not necessarily has to be a website that you have to build from scratch. And also, as you say, there's many platforms right now that they're trying to support artists and help them out, managing especially the transactions and the selling, and look for the one that suits you, for you, or that it's good for your art. And for sure, you already know in this digital space a platform that can help you out with that.
Okay, I'd love to hear about your platform, your vision for artists in Latin America. Tell us about it.
I have a platform, as you say. Thank you. We are just relaunching, but in March of this year, with all this thing that is going on in the world, we started a platform called Art Will Save Us. That is a platform that wanted to support artists during these hard times. So we had specific formats and artists putting their work there with special prices, because they were special pieces also, to support them and to try to sell them in an international environment, and reaching new customers online and internationally. And now we're relaunching the platform, as you say, because at first we only had Mexican artists. We're relaunching our platform on the 7th of September. What we're trying to do here, and my vision, is to have a fair trade platform for artists where the artist is the main beneficiary of their work. And what we're going to do is to also include artists from Latin America. We have artists from Peru, we have artists that are Ecuadorian and also Mexican, and we're going to keep growing this. We have an exhibit every month with 6 different artists. We create content for them. We have Instagram Live, we have interviews, studio visit, live paintings, and we're trying to show to give every one of these artists a space where they can express themselves, and trying to support them, of course, with the intention of selling their art internationally. And that is Art Will Save Us.
Are you going to build that? Was your vision specifically for Latin America?
Not really. What I wanted to share is my process on how I become an art passionate, and what we really want to do is, at first we started as Mexican, now Latin American, but our vision is to expand as much as we can, and it's going to be a platform not only for selling but also for educating. In one side, to educating artists on the digital environment, and on the other side, educating new art collectors that wanted to introduce to this amazing world, and to start knowing how and where to look for your artworks, and how to look for new artists, and how to discover these platforms and these great initiatives that are supporting artists. It's really ambitious, but for now we're just starting. This is our first year. I would love to tell you next year that we're opening up for artists everywhere in the world. It's great because I found this niche of people that really want to start investing, but they don't know how. The main question that I have from people that they don't have any piece yet is like, how do I know that the value of the piece is correct? How do I know how much it costs, right? And so these kind of questions we're going to be answering. We're going to have also a specialist, gallerists, another art collectors, art dealers, that they're going to tell us a little bit more, and we're going to start creating this kind of content that is going to help for sure.
Very necessary, I think, and especially with this online space, and taking the role of the gallerist. That information is there, and that both sides feel secure and safe, and that it's a good transaction. You mentioned that you're going to have fair pricing, so it's a fair trade. Can you just share a little bit about that?
Yes, the first time that I was close to this industry, I noticed that there are many people involved in the middle of the collector and the artist. So there are few institutions or people that they take advantage sometimes at the artist. And we know about famous stories related with this, right, in any artist industry. Mm-hmm. But what I found is that the main beneficiary of this has to be the artist, because what we really need for them is to invest their time in their work and to create more. So that's when I found this idea of, if we can be more, we can try to do very good optimization on our resources, and if I can bring 6 artists, and if I'm putting the same effort optimizing my resources for these 6 artists, it's going to cost me less than if I'm just supporting one. If we're trying to do this fair trade platform, is because we need people to start their collections in one side, and they need to have affordable prices to start knowing a little bit about the environment. And in the other side, we need to have fair prices for the artists, because they deserve to receive this from their work, from the time they're putting into it. So that's where we found this opportunity of supporting artists in this way.
And then because a lot of artists, they're making their art and they don't realize that they're actually people that are passionate, who are not making art, would love to collect art. Can you just describe what motivates someone to collect art?
It's really funny, because maybe when we go to hotels, that they're like big chains of hotels, and you see this print that it's hanging there just to fill that's blank space, and that's when you start knowing that we as people need to be surrounded by visual things that make us feel more that life is more beautiful than what it is. So you're gonna find that niche and that people that really want to invest in your art. And also think about entrepreneurs. I'm always thinking that if you need support, you're gonna support, and it's the same way. Always think about collaboration. And when I have 2 clients, and specifically they're entrepreneurs, and they're always changing a little bit their space, and they always asking me for emerging art, like we need to have this on our space, and also start educating them, because sometimes I receive petitions like, I just have my new couch, and can you help me find something that can match the colors? And it's like, no, artwork's different. This is not decoration. I'm not an interior designer. So always try to educate your collector a little bit, and try to find these people that needs your support, and also are willing to support other projects, and art is one of them.
The artists in the Netherlands, for example, or Germany, we have artists all over the world, really. how did they start connecting with a potential collector? Of course, they can use the hashtags, they can post online, but where did they start that conversation, real time, getting out of their studios and starting to relate with people that want to potentially collect their work?
I think there's two ways. We used to have the exhibits and museums, and we used to go out for meeting new people. That now is not really available. So I think the other way that is to do it online. Start thinking about what's the specific persona you want to have as collector, and start building this type of person in your head. Think how these people is, what kind of things they like. What I found is that other artists, for example, musicians, they're really sensitive with visual arts. And if you want to start this way, because maybe you know someone that knows someone, you can start talking a little bit more about your artwork. Every business, small business, try to think in your immediate circle first, and then try to going to other people.
Wider and
wider.
Yeah.
It's impressive that you're gonna see, and that happened to me when I started, putting artists in touch with people in my circle that I don't even really know. And when I post the first time, about emerging art on my personal social network, I started receiving messages from friends that I never thought of them as collectors, and they were like, hey, what are you doing? I really like whatever you're doing, and can you introduce me to new artists? So never underestimate anyone. Start, going out, talking to people. As in the first analogy that I did, think about this as a party, and start talking to people about your vision, your passion, what's your work about, and then you're going to find these people that can introduce you to other people.
We are in the middle of our pandemic. All the different nations are in different phases of it, and our world has really changed these last few months. A lot of artists feel discouraged. They don't know if art is relevant anymore and whether it makes any difference. Do you have a word of encouragement or something that you'd like to share with them?
I think the name of our platform, it's very descriptive in this, and I think art will save us all. And as many philosophers and art enthusiasts shared before, we need art to tell our story. And I think that you as an artist need to really think on how you're representing us as humans, as the moment of history that we're living. And you can either surrender and say, I'm not going to do this anymore, or you can keep going a little bit more. And you know that at the end of this, we all are going to be learning new things about ourselves and also about the situation that we are. I found artists that they're selling more than ever now during the pandemic. The world is still going on. Business are still running. Of course, things are going to change, but there are many companies that they're growing now and during these times, and the digital space and the digital environment grow the most than any other time. Even if you feel that the world is crashing and we're stopping, that's not true. We are in the middle of a new change, a big change that is coming, and you as artists, you are the person or the part of the history that is going to be the one telling what happened and what we learned from this. Art will save us, and we need you as an artist to save us all from it.
Can you just repeat where people can find you? Because I know people will be interested to follow you, and where they can follow you personally or where they can follow your business, your platform.
I would love to have more conversations about this. Even if you're an artist or artist enthusiast, you can find me on Instagram as Stefanie Idrobo or Art Will Save Us, artwillsave.us. That's our website and our Instagram too.
Okay, and of course I'll put all the links in the show notes of the podcast, so if people want to look back, then they can have a look there. It would be great if you continue the conversation, because that's my passion and your passion, to make the world more beautiful through art and just encouraging artists and people to collect art because it's so worthwhile. So thank you so much for your time, Stefanie.
Thank you very much, and thank you for all what you're doing weekly. I think your program and your podcast is really necessary too. Thank you very much for having me and giving me the opportunity to be part of this.
Oh, what a pleasure. What a pleasure.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. I love how Stefanie is not only creating a platform to showcase artists, but finding ways to connect artists that are passionate about making their art with buyers that are just as passionate about collecting art. I've added the details of where you can find out more about Stefanie and her platform in the notes of this episode. If this conversation has made you excited about all the internet has to offer, and you're ready to take steps to build your online presence, then join me for the Online Artist Bootcamp. In just 2 hours in this live training, I'll give you all the tools you need to create, record, and share your art online. Go to www.soniasmallhere.com/online artist and save your seat today. Well, that's all for this week. Please don't forget to subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening to this episode, and leave a review, as this will make the podcast more visible and easier for other artists to find it. I really appreciate it. Have an amazing week, and I look forward to connecting with you next time. Until then.